Protesters took to the streets of Colorado Springs today to call attention to the grand jury decision this week to not charge Louisville police officers who shot and killed Breonna Taylor. News 5's Spencer Humphrey joins us live downtown with the latest on those protests. Spencer?
Well, Andy, those protesters set off here at City Hall this afternoon. They made several laps around downtown and made stops at the Colorado Springs Police Operations Center as well as the El Paso County Courthouse. Now, even though the Breonna Taylor case is happening over 1,000 miles away, these protesters say they believe what happened in that case could have an influence across the whole country.
No justice, no peace.
It had been a quiet few weeks downtown.
The momentum slowed for a while.
But they were back Sunday, mobilized by a decision a grand jury made 3 states away.
What was done to Breonna Taylor was a gross injustice in our system.
Taylor was shot and killed by Louisville police officers who served a search warrant at her home in March. Taylor's boyfriend has said he thought the officers were intruders and fired a warning shot. The officers returned fire, shooting Taylor several times. She died in the hallway of her apartment. And when they heard the grand jury did not charge anyone for her death,
I was expecting it. It was something that I was like, oh, wow, okay.
These Colorado Springs protesters were already set to go.
Black lives matter.
We already had this event in the works waiting for the grand jury's decision on Breonna Taylor.
Even though they live across the country, they said it's worth it to make their voices heard.
I think it's an issue everywhere because what affects one portion of this country is going to affect every portion of this country.
They're still hoping to see charges.
I want to see, at the very least, manslaughter.
In the end, it's all part of a larger issue, part of a system they say isn't working.
There needs to be a complete restructure of our whole justice reform. Not reform, a complete dismantle of what we have going on.
Now, one thing I do want to point out, one officer in the Breonna Taylor case was charged with 3 counts of first-degree wanton endangerment for firing his weapon into Taylor's neighbor's apartments, but no officers were charged directly in Taylor's death. Now, in total, we saw about 100 to 200 protesters out here at the peak today, and it was mostly everyone was gone by about 7 o'clock. Always watching out for you, Southern Colorado. Spencer Humphrey, News 5.